I am LaMarsha Lewis. Let's talk. Today is Friday, which happens to be Good Friday, April the 2nd, 2021. I want to give you some commentary. Want to do a story on this Good Friday in regards to what's going on with, I like to call him the rich frat boy, Matt Gatez. He's one of the representatives for the state of Florida who is under federal investigation. Allegedly, supposedly, he has been with or had sex with a 17-year-old. It also has been allegedly stated that he and a friend of his have met women online, paying for sex, and all of this. Again, all of this is alleged, and Matt Gatez has called it disgusting and has denied all of these alleged claims against him in regards to, like I said, having sex with a 17-year-old, having sex paying online. Supposedly there's receipts through Apple Pay, and as we know, Cash App is very popular now. So it has been said on various social media news outlets that there are receipts to back up, and it's being said that it is women that are saying that Matt Gatez has paid for sex through cash and, like I said, through Apple Pay and all of this. He went on, Tucker Carson did an interview, tried to imply or had stated that he and a woman friend of his, along with Tucker Carson and his wife, had went out to dinner, which Tucker stated that he had no recollection. He totally did not remember that. So I'm like, oh, how the tables have turned on the little rich. I don't know if he was in a fraternity or not, but he just had that little rich frat, cause of who I am type of face, and such a little snotty attitude like so many rich white people do. That's why I call him the little frat boy. And again, oh, how the tables have turned. It's called karma. He has been the biggest ally for the former guy, 45. I remember the time when he and, at the time, Representative Cedric Richmond had a little run-in when Cedric called him out, and Matt called himself, wanted to lash out, and as Representative Richmond said, a dog will holler, a guilty dog will holler. And he's also, when he went to Wyoming after he got pissed and mad about Representative Liz Cheney using her conscience to do the right thing when she voted in that second impeachment for now the one term, twice impeached former guy, 45, who was impeached for inciting an insurrection, and Liz Cheney voted with the House of Representatives that gave that second impeachment for Trump. Matt Gatez traveled to Wyoming trying to call out Liz Cheney, and again, oh, how the tables have turned on the little rich frat. So let's listen. I want to play this clip of Matt when he had went to Wyoming to try to discredit Liz Cheney. We're going to listen.
I think if Liz Cheney had a rally with all of her supporters, they could likely meet inside one of the elevators in the Capitol and still have plenty of room for social distancing. I want to thank Representative Ocean Andrew. His first day as a state representative was yesterday, and he invited me to be here with all of you today. I'd say that's a pretty good start for the young man. I'll confess to you, this is my first time in Wyoming. I've been here for about an hour, and I feel like I already know the place a lot better than your misguided Representative Liz Cheney. My grandfather was a small-town mayor in not-too-distant North Dakota. He passed before his time. but not before passing into legend. And he passed along a little wisdom to my dad. My old man calls it prairie populism. Do right by your people. Never sell out. Fight their dislikes. And never let the powerful run over the weak. Inspire people through courage and tell the truth. The truth is that the establishment in both political parties have teamed up to screw our fellow Americans for generations.
Now let's listen to. It says Matt Gatez says he has no plans. It says Matt Gatez has no plans to step down, denies allegation that he's been alleged of, and this is from Fox News.
The emerging sex scandal involving Florida Republican Congressman Matt Gatez is growing more sordid tonight. There are reports of money for sex, drug-fueled trysts, even competition among lawmakers concerning their sexual conquests. Gatez denied the original allegations up front, but this story keeps evolving. Correspondent Kevin Cork has the latest on this. Good evening, Kevin.
Evening, Brett. The federal investigation targeting Congressman Gatez is specifically looking into whether he and an associate provided cash or other things of value to women that they had sex with after connecting with them online. That associate of Mr. Gatez was indicted last year for allegedly trafficking a teenage girl for sex back in 2017. And now the DOJ is reportedly trying to determine whether Gatez himself had sex with a 17-year-old. Gatez, who is not married, was not married at the time, but is currently engaged, has strongly denied the allegations. And in fact, he's even suggested that he reached out to the FBI because this could all be part of a possible extortion plot. Unnamed sources have told the Miami Herald newspaper that Gatez was part of a group of young male lawmakers who at the time created a game to score their female sexual conquest, which allegedly granted points for various targets such as interns, staffers, and other female colleagues at the State House in Tallahassee. Meanwhile, leaders on Capitol Hill here in Washington are taking a wait-and-see approach about the allegations, but they do acknowledge there could be consequences if the allegations are proven to be true, including possible removal from the House Judiciary Committee.
Those are serious implications. If it comes out to be true, yes, we would remove him if that was the case.
Of course, being removed from the Judiciary Committee is the least that could be done. From what we've heard so far, this would be a matter for the Ethics Committee.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi there. Meanwhile, that investigation started last year when Bill Barr was Attorney General under then President Trump. Politico reports that Barr allegedly avoided being seen near Gatez in public and even pulled out of an event in an effort to avoid being around him. Again, that is according to Politico. In text messages today, Gatez told the Hill newspaper that it is, quote, very safe to say he has no plans to step down and continues to insist the rumors are absolutely false. Of course, we'll keep an eye on this story for you, Brett. Back to you.
So again, as it said, again, it was from Fox News. Gatez has no plans on stepping down. And I want to here go with Carson and Gatez. Matt Gatez responds to sex trafficking allegation on Tucker Carson tonight. Fox News.
Just a couple of hours ago, late this afternoon, the New York Times ran a story saying that Florida Congressman Matt Gatez is under federal investigation for playing some role in sex trafficking and potentially having a relationship with a 17-year-old girl. There are very few details in major news outlets tonight about this story. We have no background on it all and not even any very informed questions. Instead, we've invited Congressman Gatez on the show to respond to these stories and give us his view of them. Congressman, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it. So this is obviously a serious allegation. Tell us
very serious
what the truth is from your perspective.
It is a horrible allegation, and it is a lie. The New York Times is running a story that I have traveled with a 17-year-old woman, and that is verifiably false. People can look at my travel records and see that that is not the case. What is happening is an extortion of me and my family involving a former Department of Justice official. On March 16th, my father got a text message demanding a meeting wherein a person demanded $25 million in exchange for making horrible sex trafficking allegations against me go away. Our family was so troubled by that, we went to the local FBI. And the FBI and the Department of Justice were so concerned about this attempted extortion of a member of Congress that they asked my dad to wear a wire, which he did with the former Department of Justice official. Tonight, I am demanding that the Department of Justice and the FBI release the audio recordings that were made under their supervision and at their direction, which will prove my innocence and that will show that these allegations aren't true. They're merely intended to try to bleed my family out of money. And this former Department of Justice official tomorrow was supposed to be contacted by my father so that specific instructions could be given regarding the wiring of $4.5 million as a down payment on this bribe. I don't think it's a coincidence that tonight, somehow, the New York Times is leaking this information, smearing me, and ruining the investigation that would likely result in one of the former colleagues of the current DOJ being brought to justice for trying to extort me and my family.
So a couple of obvious questions that come to mind, and again, just to restate, this just happened, don't have any other information beyond what we've already said and you have said. First of all, who is this Department of Justice former employee who's trying to extort the money from you, you say?
His name is David McGee. He was a top official in the leadership in the Northern District of Florida as a prosecutor. He currently works at the Beggs and Lane law firm. As a matter of fact, one of the recordings that was made at the FBI and Department of Justice request occurred at that law firm, and the money that was supposed to be paid today that would have shown even more evidence of David McGee's work in this extortion scheme, that was foiled by the New York Times story, and I believe that's why this horrible information and these terrible allegations have been used this evening.
So and I'll get to the investigation in a second, but you're saying that David McGee was motivated by greed. He was trying to extort money from your family. That's his motivation, you're saying?
I know that there was a demand for money in exchange for a commitment that he could make this investigation go away along with his co-conspirators. They even claimed to have specific connections inside the Biden White House. Now, I don't know if that's true. They were promising that Joe Biden would pardon me. Obviously, I don't need a pardon. I'm not seeking a pardon. I've not done anything improper or wrong. But what I am troubled by is the real motivation for all of this. You know, just tonight, Ted Lieu, a Democrat, is calling on me to be removed from the House Judiciary Committee. And I believe we are in an era of our politics now, Tucker, where people are smeared to try to take them out of the conversation. I'm not the only person on screen right now who's been falsely accused of a terrible sex act. You were accused of something that you did not do, and so you know what this feels like. You know the pain it can bring to your family, and you know how it just puts people on defense when you're accused of something so salacious and awful. But it did not happen. It is not true. And the fact that it is the basis of this attempt to extort my family tells a lot. And if the FBI and Department of Justice will release the tapes that they are in possession of, the American people will see what is really going on.
You just referred to a mentally ill viewer who accused me of a sex crime 20 years ago. And of course, it was not true. I never met the person. But I do agree with you that being accused falsely is one of the worst things that can happen. And you do see it a lot. Let's go back to the investigation. You say that it was or is underway. There was an investigation. What is the basis of that investigation? What is the allegation? That's really not very clear from these news stories.
Yeah, again, I only know what I've read in the New York Times. I can say that actually you and I went to dinner about 2 years ago. Your wife was there, and I brought a friend of mine. You'll remember her. And she was actually threatened by the FBI, told that if she wouldn't cop to the fact that somehow I was involved in some pay-for-play scheme, that she could face trouble. And so I do believe that there are people at the Department of Justice who are trying to smear me, providing for flights and hotel rooms for people that you're dating who are of legal age is not a crime. And I'm just troubled that the lack of any sort of legitimate investigation into me would then convert into this extortion attempt.
I don't remember the woman you're speaking of or the context at all, honestly. But I would like to know who. So they're saying there is a 17-year-old girl who you had a relationship with. Is that true? And who are they? Who is this girl? What are they talking about at the New York Times?
The person doesn't exist. I have not had a relationship with a 17-year-old. That is totally false. The allegation, as I read it in the New York Times, is that I've traveled with some 17-year-old in some relationship. That is false, and records will bear that out to be false.
How long has this investigation been going on? Do you know?
I don't know.
When were you first informed of it?
Again, I really saw this as a deeply troubling challenge for my family on March 16th, when people were, talking about a minor and that there were pictures of me with child prostitutes. That's obviously false. There will be no such pictures because no such thing happened. But really on March 16th was when this got going from the extortion standpoint.
So what happens next? I mean, you've considered there is this investigation, I guess a criminal investigation. I'm not quite sure what the sex trafficking part comes in. I don't, again, for the fifth time, I don't really understand the story very well. But where does it go from here? I mean, you've made an allegation against someone by name on the air and accused him of trying to extort millions of dollars from your family. What happens tomorrow?
Well, what was supposed to happen was the transfer of this money that would have implicated the former colleague of these current DOJ officials. But that's obviously not going to happen tomorrow because the New York Times story was leaked in order to quell that investigative effort. So here's what needs to happen next. The FBI and the Department of Justice must release the tapes that are in their possession that were done at their direction. Those tapes will show that I am innocent and that the whole concept of sex charges against me was really just a way to try to bleed my family out of money and probably smear my name because I am a well-known, outspoken conservative, and I guess that's out of style in a lot of parts of the country right now.
Matt Gatez, I appreciate your coming on tonight. So
thanks for giving me the chance to tell the truth, Tucker. I appreciate it.
It's a more interesting and complicated story than I knew from reading about it. Thank you very much. Matt Gatez interview, that was one of the weirdest interviews I've ever conducted. That story just appeared in the news a couple of hours ago. And on the certainty that there's always more than you read in the newspaper, we immediately called Matt Gatez and asked him to come on and tell us more, which, as you saw, he did. I don't think that clarified much, but it certainly showed this is a deeply interesting story, and we'll be following it. Don't quite understand it, but we'll bring you on when we find out.
Now listen to this one with this change between him and
I move to strike the last
Cedric Richmond.
Mr. Chairman, let me just start by saying I am absolutely sitting here offended and angry as hell. And I want to explain to what we always say is how we refer to each other, my good friends on the other side. By the time I'm finished, you will be clear that we are not good friends. As a black male who went to the 5th best public high school in the country, who was a victim of excessive force, who has a black son, who has worries that you all don't. And to my colleagues, especially the ones that keep introducing amendments that are a tangent and a distraction from what we're talking about, you all are white males, you never lived in my shoes, and you do not know what it's like to be an African-American male. And all I'm saying is, if you are opposed to this legislation, let's just have the vote. But please do not come in this committee room and make a mockery of the pain that exists in my community. And it reminds me of the argument about the 1964 Civil Rights Act, or the 65 Voting Rights Act, where 126 people voted against a Civil Rights Act, 85 people against a Voting Rights Act, because they had all these side issues. Either man up and say you don't believe in it, or let's talk about the real issue. And yes, we're not interested in watered down version of this bill. I'm not interested in equality with all deliberate speed. This is a crisis. People are losing their lives. So if we have other things that we want to fix, Then fix them in another bill, fix them at another time. But people are dying as we talk. So I am not interested in moving at a snail's pace. I am not interested in a watered-down bill that mandates nothing. I'm not interested in studying Antifa. I'm not even interested in studying the Klan or sovereign citizens right now. Because that is not the imminent threat that black men face on a daily basis. And right now, too often, it is law enforcement. Those who were sworn to protect and to serve. And so all we're asking today is to deal with that. I don't mind dealing with other pieces of legislation. I don't mind dealing with other issues that you all may have. And what I don't want to leave this conversation with, and why I'm speaking now instead of later, is because I don't want you all to leave here saying, well, we didn't know. We didn't know that's how you felt, Cedric. I want it to be crystal clear, and I will give you the benefit of the doubt that it is an unconscious bias that I'm hearing, because at worst it's conscious bias, and that I would hate to assume from any of the people on the other side.
Will the gentleman yield?
Sure.
I appreciate your passion. Are you suggesting that you're certain that none of us have non-white children? Because you reflected on your black son and you said none of us could understand.
Matt, stop. I'm not about to get sidetracked about the color of our children. We're talking about black kids. I reclaimed my time.
You said that
I reclaimed my time. I know.
You want the discussion?
I know that
Gentleman reclaimed his time.
I said I reclaimed my time. I already know that there are people on the other side that have black grandchildren. It is not about the color of your kids. It is about black males, black people in the streets that are getting killed. And if one of them happens to be your kid, I'm concerned about him too. And clearly I'm more concerned about him than you are. So let's be clear about that.
You're claiming you're more concerned for my family than I do? Who in the hell do you think you are?
Gentlemen,
if the shoe fits.
You don't know how much we care about families.
Kicks dog holler.
You should take those words down. I know you care about your family and love your family.
The gentleman will suspend. The gentleman will suspend. The time belongs to the gentleman from Louisiana.
Cedric, would you yield?
Was that a nerve?
Yeah, you damn
I yield
right
to the gentleman from Louisiana.
I love how Representative Cedric Richmond said, if the shoe fits, a kid dog will holler. And like he said, did I hit a nerve? And obviously he did. But see, I wanted to play those clips because that's why I have said, oh, how the tables have turned. Oh, how the tables have turned. Because Matt Gatez was a very vocal advocate for Donald J. Trump. And like I said, he went to Wyoming to intentionally try to intimidate Liz Cheney, called her out because she simply used her conscience and stood up for right and wrong, and he didn't like that. It's being said that he is supposedly he's engaged now, been engaged since December 30th of last year. He's Matt Gatez, born May 7th, 1982, 38 years old. He's got Hollywood, Florida, and so therefore, he's an American lawyer, politician, serving as United States Representative of Florida 1st Congressional District since 2017. So he's been in he's been in politics since 2017, going on about about 4 or 5 years now. This is 2021. And he is under investigation, allegedly. He still sits on his judicial committee, which I think he should be off. And I'm too, is one of the ones says he should resign. But as I played the clip earlier where it said he supposedly has no plan to resign. As of today, it has been reported that his communication director, whose name is Luke Ball, has quit in the wake of the continuous intensifying allegations scandal against Matt Gatez. Allegedly, he may have violated sex trafficking laws. It's being reported that he showed nude pictures of women that supposedly, allegedly, that he slept with to some of his colleagues on the House floor. And again, the Republicans are basically silent. I did show where the clip where minority leader Kevin McCarthy said, well, if it's proven, then he would be removed in all of this. But the Republicans, they have one thing in common. They follow along. They're the follow along. Liz Cheney showed she could be a leader because she could stand alone. She could do what was right. But as you see, all the others, it's that follow along. Because they sticking with the narrative. They sticking with their board, the former guy, the twice impeached, one-term president that incited an insurrection, who paid $130,000 to a porn star. Kind of goes along with Gates. It's trending on social media for Gates to resign. He's denying the allegations against him. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did. And probably sooner than later, go ahead and resign, because it's a lot coming out. Although, according to Fox, again, Matt Gatez has said he has no plans. He's denying these allegations. But again, as I have said, allegedly there's receipts out there in regards to him being investigated. A federal investigation. Florida's, I like to call him a little frat boy, rich boy from Florida, because he has such a little arrogance about him, that arrogance attitude, and basically just likes to have attention on him. Well, now the attention is on him, but I don't think it's in a manner that he's liking. We should see how all of this plays out and unfolds. But this is my commentary with the newest trending subject matter of Florida's representative Matt Gatez under federal investigation, allegedly for having sex with a 17-year-old, paying women allegedly online. It has been said through cash apps, getting money out of ATMs and hotels and all of this. But again, this is allegedly, and Matt Gatez is denying these allegations, and time will only tell. I'm LaMarsha Lewis. Let's talk.